We want to welcome everyone, whether you're an LCC coordinator or a member of your county's coalition. We want to welcome you to our monthly Indiana Coalition Network webinar. Just a few logistics. If you have any questions or comments, you can put those in the chat box. That will be monitored throughout the entire webinar by Jody. And my colleagues and I are just really happy that you're here. Bobby Foster works for the Scott County Partnership on a prevention block grant, and she's one of my colleagues on this grant, as well as Jody Miller with the Indiana Addictions Issues Coalition, and Alayli, is it Lapitan? Said that right. She's with Solutionize, our web designer. How do you say it, Allie?
Lapitan.
Oh, okay, I was close. Okay.
Yeah, it was close.
Well, thank you all for being on this today. We want to just tell you real briefly before I dive in who our speakers are today. Next slide. Okay. Oh, that was a cool slide, Bobby, if you want to go back to that one. I don't know.
I will, yeah.
Intentional. Okay,
Oh, wow.
These are the members so far of the Indiana Coalition Network. That means you have been onboarded on the ICN, the Indiana Coalition Network.org. If you do not see your name on this list and you want to get onboarded, all you have to do is put your name and your email in the chat box, and we will make sure and send you that information so that you can get onboarded right away. You can email also right there, the email info@indianacoalitionnetwork.org to add your county with this free membership. So again, if you're not on here, we would love for you to be. Okay, next slide. Our speakers today are myself. I am the LCC coordinator, as well as the Drug-Free Communities coordinator for CEAS of Scott County. That is Scott County's LCC, Local Coordinating Council. CEAS is the Coalition to Eliminate the Abuse of Substances. What we thought we'd do today, this is something that I do at the beginning of every year. Now, it's not something that you have to do. It's not something that's required by CJI, but it's something that I do because I know that every year I have people who may not have been a part of the coalition for a very long time, or new members who have never been a part of the coalition. So I do this in order to give them information about our LCC. So we're going to be able to provide all this information to you, so don't worry about it. You will get the slides. Actually, everything is going to be uploaded on the IndianaCoalitionNetwork.org, so you will have access to all of it. There's no ownership here. Nope. Okay, so first of all, I give my members a history of the commission. So the Indiana Commission to Combat Drug Abuse. Here's the historical picture of it. In 1989, Governor Bai initiated a new strategy for accelerating Indiana's alcohol and other drug issues. This was initiated by executive order of the governor and later by an act of the Indiana General Assembly. So originally it was called the Governor's Commission for a Drug-Free Indiana. It was created on May 9th, 1989, and charged with leading Indiana strategies regarding alcohol, tobacco, and other drug use. And as we know now, a few years ago, they changed it to the Indiana Commission to Combat Drug Abuse. So the next thing I like to do is I like to give my coalition a history of our LCC. So I share with them that CEAS coordinates local action to prevent substance abuse in Scott County. The coalition uses the Strategic Prevention Framework community problem-solving process to establish goals, track progress, and adjust our community efforts as the landscape changes. CEAS's goals include increasing community collaboration, preventing and reducing prescription drug misuse by youth, and decreasing youth and alcohol use. Our focused activities and initiatives relate to building coalition capacity, strengthening collaboration, and incorporating the 7 proven core strategies of the DFC. And those are to, 1, provide information, enhance skills, provide support, enhance access, reduce barriers, change consequences through incentives or disincentives, change physical design. If we could mute that person, please, thank you. Change physical design, and informing and educating to modify policies. So that's the little info I give them about our coalitions. Kind of tells what our purpose is. So the commission has state level objectives in which they address the administrative and legislative needs to effectively use resources from all sources. The commission also advises the governor on strategies and policies needed to improve Indiana's response to alcohol and other drug use through its commission members, public forums, and reports to the governor. I know that Michael Ross asks us for reports each time it's time for the commission to meet on the Indiana Coalition Network, so we can report on our progress and outcomes and how things are going. So the commission also provides the vision, the expertise, and the leadership to develop comprehensive statewide strategies to address the complex problems associated with alcohol and other drug use in Indiana. They mobilize local, regional, and state collaborative efforts toward a drug-free Indiana, and they facilitate communication, collaboration, and coordination to manage state and local level coordination to reduce the duplication of efforts and increase collaboration. So again, we're at the higher level, the commission. Now we get down to our lower level. And I talk a little bit more about the coalition, our specific coalition itself. So CEAS is a local coordinating council. And by state statute, what that means is we are a county-wide citizen body approved by the commission to plan, monitor, and evaluate comprehensive local alcohol and drug abuse plans. Our coalition, or LCC, I'm going to use those two words interchangeably, are made up of volunteers from multiple community sectors. We're required, as you know, to submit a comprehensive community plan. Now for everybody, that's every April. We sometimes refer to it as the CCP, and quarterly reports to the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute. And as you know, we've started doing that on IntelliGrants, our favorite grant management system in the world, right? The CCP is an assessment of local alcohol and other drug use problems in the county. And the CCP has within it problem identification and supportive data, proposed objectives to address problems, and an evaluation component to measure the success of the planned strategies. And as all of you know, they've completely revamped that. So it's more simple and shorter to complete now. So then I like to give my coalition our vision statement. I try to put this in front of their faces as much as I can. So CEAS's vision is that Scott County will be a community free of substance abuse and addiction. I also share with them our mission to develop and implement a comprehensive community strategy to prevent and reduce the incidence and prevalence of substance use and addictions among youth and adults in Scott County in order to become a community of abundant life and dignity where prevention is stressed and treatment and recovery are always possible. And this is taken from, I've looked at a lot of different coalitions' mission statements, and it's just kind of taken bits and pieces. And of course, our membership has had input into how to frame our mission statement. And then it's important that they understand the structure of the coalition. So our coalition has committees, various committees and work groups. We also have, our executive committee consists of our chair, our vice chair, our treasurer. We have co-secretaries, 2 secretaries that take turns. And then I am the drug-free communities coordinator. If you don't have the federal DFC, then most of you are called your LCC coordinator. So I think it's important. I'm a very visual person, so I like to share with them an organizational chart. So so I am actually our fiscal agent for our federal DFC grant is the Scott County Partnership. So I'm an employee of the Scott County Partnership, but I'm also the LCC coordinator for CEAS. So I report to as the LCC coordinator, I report to the executive committee that consists of the chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer. And then underneath the executive committee, we also have standing committees. Those are our executive, prevention, treatment, and justice, which fall in line with the LCC and CJI. And then we have ad hoc committees as needed. We have grant oversight. So that's for our LCC, Drug-Free Community Fund, giving out those grants. We also have a nominating committee, a comprehensive community plan committee, and then we have our drug-free community work groups that have to do with our federal drug-free community support program funding. So the membership, we have recommended sector representation, and this is recommended not only by the Indiana Commission to Combat Drug Abuse, but it's also required by the Drug-Free Community Support Program. So I make sure on all of our sign-in sheets when we were meeting in person that they put which sector that they're with. And I try to explain to them, because some of them don't, they just put their organization, which I want them to do, but I also want them to get familiar with what sector that they represent. And some of them forget that. And so going over this year, each year helps them to remember what sector. So like our mental health and addiction treatment people would fall under the other organization, reducing substance use. Our Kiwanis would fall under the civic and volunteer organization. Our some of our like our head of our Scott County Health Department would be state and local government, healthcare, doctors, nurses, HIV treatment and testers, schools, obviously, that's pretty obvious. Youth serving organization would be like our Tobacco Prevention Cessation Coalition, or our CASA, Court Appointed Special Advocates, or Department of Child Services. Radio, TV, or newspaper would obviously fall under media. Law enforcement would be your justice, your county corrections, your probation, prosecutor's office, so on and so forth. So that's pretty, we have the Greater Scott County Chamber of Commerce, that's under business. So those are your 12 sectors. And then our committees. So our ad hoc, again, I've already gone over those, and standing. So right now we have 5 active work groups for our DFC. ACEs and trauma, alternate youth activities, advocacy for physical design changes, Empower Youth Coalition, and community education. So then I explain to them, we get into the grants, because a lot of people think that the money we give out is from donations, and some of it is, but most of it is from the state drug-free community fund. Okay, monies collected, and this helps them so much to understand this, because a lot of them and members of our coalition LCCs are the ones that are applying for the grant funding. So monies collected through each of our county courts are held in a county drug-free communities fund, or sometimes called by CJI DFCF, by our county auditors. Okay, and CEASE, your LCC, is the administrator of these funds and is responsible for their distribution back into the community according to your prepared and approved comprehensive community plan. Because remember, it has to get approved not only by CJI, but it also has to get approved by your county commissioners. And then those grants are awarded to agencies and entities based on the needs and services identified by your LCC through your comprehensive community planning process. So I just got through going before my county commissioners to get our grants approved. And then, you know, we have to do that each year. And I gave them our plan. Our plan got approved last year because it was turned in last April to CJI. So, and I always go to those meetings because sometimes the commissioners have questions for me. And so it's helpful as the LCC coordinator to be there to put a face on the coalition and also to answer any of their questions that they might have. Now, we're a small county and we don't have a lot. In fact, our grants were actually down 10,000, or our collections in 2020 were down $10,000. So ordinarily we would give out a lot more than this, maybe like 23,000. So we actually had, these are the grants that fell in each of these categories. We actually had low applications this year compared to previous years, but the column on the number column on the left shows the amount that they requested, and then the amount on the right column shows how much they were granted. So these were our grant committee recommendations. They were approved at our January meeting, and then I just gave out the checks last week. And I think it's important that, you know, your coalition knows this. Transparency is always important with this sort of thing. And then I just wanted to spend a little bit of time here because we have 23 Indiana communities that are also that are drug-free community support program funded. And I want to encourage you, if this has not come out yet, it's supposed to come out around February 15th, and it's due, I think, around April 15th. But if you have not ever thought about applying, maybe your LCC is not a 501c3, but you could find a community fiscal agent like we did to apply on behalf of your coalition. But this is a phenomenal federally funded grant, and I highly recommend it. And again, we have 23 Indiana County communities that now have the DFC, which is the most we've ever had. And this is a little bit old, but it just shows the that in 2016, nearly 60 million Americans lived in a community with a DFC. And this was from fiscal year 2018. And notice all the green is new DFCs and the blue is the continuation DFCs, which that's what CESE is applying for this year because we'll be going into year 6. But look how the concentrations are. I know some of you on this call are also DFC communities. So I think it's important. The reason I share this with my coalition members is it's important that they understand what the LCC does on a state and local level, but it's also important that they understand, you know, what we do according to the DFC. So I tell them about the theory of the DFC to mobilize community leaders to identify and respond to the drug problems unique to our community. And it's designed to change the entire community environment, and that we focus on environmental change to contribute to reductions in substance use among youth and over time among adults. So it is a prevention grant that is geared toward youth. So again, here's the coalitions for fiscal year 2018. High concentration kind of in the Appalachia area. It's great because they give you some wonderful infographics that you can provide for your community. It shows, I love the bottom left-hand corner where it shows the DFC coalitions engaged in comprehensive mix of prevention strategies. So it shows you what % are doing each of those 7 change strategies. And then they give you some great social media bites for you to share on your social media sites for your coalition as well. And the 2 main goals of the DFC are to strengthen your community collaborations in your coalition and your community, and to reduce and prevent youth substance use. And the DFC supports our coalition through the community problem solving process called the Strategic Prevention Framework Model, which I want to give a little shout out because next month's webinar, we will have Mallory DeSalle from Prevention Insights, who's going to talk to you about the Strategic Prevention Framework Model, and then also give you opportunities to work with them in presenting on the SPIF. We call it the SPIF for short, in your community and with your coalition. So this is where CESE is now. We are in the active work group implementation phase, and I've already told you what our work groups are, and each work group has a facilitator. And then the Youth Coalition is a very active part of our coalition. We have a member attend each month to our coalition meetings, which obviously have been virtual since this past April. And they also have created their own app that when they check into events, which of course this was a lot easier when we were doing events in person, they could check in and get points, and then they can turn those points in for prizes. So it incentivizes them to attend the resilience building events that we offer youth in our community. These are some of the prizes that they get, not all, but some of the prizes that they get for, and it tells you how much points that you have to get that prize. And then they have, Empower has their own social media sites. They have Instagram and they have Facebook, and they do their own posting on those sites for their peers. And again, it's targeting all 6th through 12th graders in both school districts in Scott County. And of course, something we don't get to do this year, sadly, is go to the National Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America Conference and take the youth to meet with, we're going to do it virtually this year, to meet with Senator Braun. Hopefully, I haven't checked it lately. Hopefully we've got those set up. But Senator Braun and Senator Young, and then Representative oh my God, Hollingsworth, right? Yes, it's left me. And hopefully we'll be meeting with all of them. He is our state representative. And then of course the other two would be all of us. I know that a lot of other DFC communities are going to be joining us in those Capitol Hill Day meetings next week. And then our youth held this wonderful town hall meeting. Believe it or not, we were able to hold 2 live events last year. One was the Tall Cop that we did in June, where he came and trained, and we were able to social distance in a really large venue. And then we also held this town hall meeting. The youth actually put this on preventing youth alcohol use. And it's where we also released our Scott County Stories of Resilience, which was a huge hit. And I think we have time to show one.
Anything with music is just amazing to me. I can just focus on what I'm playing and I don't have to focus on anything else. He and I were pretty close, so it was rough. You have to find your own way. For me, that's through music. It's something that he and I both loved. He gave me lessons when I was in 6th grade, just starting out on trumpet. It was actually that same year that I lost him. And then I decided to move to baritone, like he did. I've always been a pretty busy girl, just never really liked sitting still. I love archery. I just picked up a bow, kind of just worked at it and fell in love with it. I love horses too. Grew up around them. It's a lot of work, but it's good work. It's been 3 years for me and I'm still struggling with it. Don't let yourself go down that dark path. You have other people that are out there. You may not realize it. You may not see them all the time, but you're not alone.
So this was sponsored by a lot of different agencies in our community. So interestingly, we're celebrating. It's nice to have celebrations for your coalition. I know some of the rest of you do that as well. CEAS is celebrating being 32 years old this year. So that's exciting since we did start in 1989. I think most of us might have started then. And I always give, this is from last year, but it's always a good idea to kind of, I'm giving this presentation actually at the first meeting in February, but it's good to kind of tell them what kinds of things you have planned for the year so they can get excited about upcoming events and activities and so forth. And then one thing I make sure at this point is that we have a CEAS 2021 membership agreement, and that's one of the things that I'm going to provide you with copies of. And then we also provide the members with the committees and work group list. We give them, I want to share with you, usually we're starting to do this online now, but I'm going to share with you our LCC grant application packet that we give to applicants each year. I also give them the meeting calendar for the entire year. And then I also give them the timeline, which is what happens each month of the entire year. Now, of course, all of these things are also uploaded on a Google Drive for everybody in the coalition to access, because we try to keep as much of it as electronic as we can to avoid a bunch of paper, especially now since we can't meet in person. I'm not able to pass these things out. So I know that my colleague Bevan in Dearborn County also does she does a Google form, and they fill that out for their membership agreement. So again, all those things will be on the indianacoalitionnetwork.org for you to access for your coalition. If you need some templates, we're all about sharing. There's no possessiveness here. We want to all become better and learn from each other. So that is, I'm going to exit just because there. I like to see you. So that is all that I have at this point, but I want to, we're going to take this time. Boy, that's perfect timing. We want to take this time for about 5 minutes before we hear from Corey. If anybody has any questions or anything that you do that I didn't cover that you'd like to share with your LCC colleagues. So if you want to unmute yourself, if you have a question or a comment.
Lori, I can jump in on one. This was actually a really good question because we're dealing with similar organizational things in our LCC. And this was where Megan Broker posted a question about a bank account. Her LCC is a nonprofit, but they've applied and they currently do not have a bank account, but they need an account because someone's given them some money. So they're trying to figure out getting that EIN. Does that, before they get their nonprofit, like what's that correlation between those two things? So I'm kind of curious what other LCCs are doing about their banks, if they're nonprofits. And when they have questions like this, who do they go to? Who's the expert in their area that they can go to for an answer?
That's a good question. I would say, first and foremost, I'd probably contact Corey or Sadia or Michael about it. Bobby, I came on board after all those things were done for all our LCC. Can you kind of tell how ours is structured?
I came in later than you.
Yeah,
so
I know.
You should know. So
More,
if I get it wrong, you tell me. So as I understand it, our LCC, we have an EIN. And we've filed with the state of Indiana, so we are considered a business entity. And therefore we can open a bank account. We are not a nonprofit. The way we can have access to the nonprofit is our association with the Scott County Partnership, who is a nonprofit agency. So if we need that number, that's who we use for it.
correct.
Yeah.
But okay, but let's say that a church in town wants some donation to cease. Okay, so do they make that to our fiscal agent, the Scott County Partnership, or can they make it to cease?
It depends. Do they want to, no matter who the donor is, do they want a tax write-off?
Well,
If they do, they have to go to Scott County Partnership. If they just want to give it direct and they don't care to get tax write-off, then they can come and write the check directly to us. That's my understanding.
Good question. Does anybody else want to weigh in on this?
I can weigh in. I have a degree in nonprofit management and have
Yay.
run several nonprofits and been the coordinator since 2002 for our coalition. If they're a nonprofit, they can get an EIN because they're an entity. And so then they can do a bank account, which they should be doing anyways. Even to run their, I don't know how they're running their coalition without, unless they're going through a fiscal agent. But yeah, they can get in and probably have an EIN if they're a nonprofit organization. Because if they're running payroll or they're doing anything, they have to have, even to do their 990, they have to have an EIN. So somewhere they're on record if they are a nonprofit organization. If they're not a nonprofit, a 501c3, they can still probably get a bank account because a lot of banks will have accounts that can be used for like social groups and those sort of things. So a lot of banks will have a bank account that is for that purpose. I used to be a part of a clay guild, and we were not a 501c3, but we had a bank account at a local credit union. So they can still get a bank account. The tax write-off thing is going to be an issue if they're not a 501c3. You can't take donations and really shouldn't take a donation if you're not a 501c3. But anybody that has questions about nonprofits and that sort of thing can feel free to contact me. It's what I do. And so I'd be happy to give insight.
So Jess, could you put
So
your
I'll chime
email in the
in here.
chat?
Sure.
Can I add some things to that? This is Kimbra with Jay County.
Of course.
So I was in Allen County and was one of their founding members living up there. And we became a nonprofit up there. Our coalition did. And then 3 years ago, Jay County, their coalition asked for me to come help them set up their nonprofit so that they could individually apply for the DFC grant. So we did do that. They did have a bank account before we became a nonprofit. So there is no issue with that as long as you have your EIN and everything. So it's becoming a nonprofit is a process. It's not a terrible process. Everybody freaks out about it and says it's, really hard. It's not, if you have the right people coming along and walking alongside you. So that's and following the bylaws and the guidelines, because there is things that you have to follow. So, and like Jess said, if you want more information, you can contact Jess or I mean, she's got a wealth of knowledge. So.
Oh, this is so wonderful to have such seasoned and experienced coordinators in the group. We really appreciate your assistance.
Lori?
Yes.
When we have both. We're 501c3, and then we're also we use the county as the fiscal agent for one of our grants. But when we started the 501c process, I had a lady on my coalition that was part of a bank. And so probably the best, what I would do is I just went and I talked to her, and she helped me go ahead and set it up. And like they said, if it's, if they don't care about the tax write-off right now, then it's not that big a deal. Because if they've already applied, they'll get it soon anyway. So, but talk to a banker. So, and see what they say.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Lori.
I want to chime in because I started the conversation. I kind of want to clarify. So we applied for a nonprofit status last October, like October 2019. And we have not heard back yet because of COVID and stuff. So it's been over a year since we have applied for a nonprofit status. And the question, I guess, at hand is the fact that we have an application in for a nonprofit status to get an EIN number, but we don't have an EIN number. So do we apply for EIN number outside of what's already been applied for? Because I don't want to duplicate applying for an EIN number, because once we do become our nonprofit status, we will receive our federal ID number. So, and we
have you contacted anybody
bank as
since
well.
it's been that long? Have you contacted them since it's been that long? It shouldn't take that long.
Yes, it's because of COVID.
Oh,
They're not working full staff and they don't have access to the website and everything while they're working at home.
okay. I was going to say, I think it took us maybe 3 months, and it seemed like it was a fairly fast turnaround.
Yeah. And is it Megan? I can't see which person was Wayne
it's
County.
Megan. It's Megan from Wayne County.
It's me. It will go back to the time you filed.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
ours did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that. I just didn't know, because we do have, and it's not like a huge amount of money that was donated, but 2 people have donated to our organization, and the checks are just sitting there because we haven't cashed them. and so we tried to set up a bank account, but then the lady that is on our board that works for banks, she's reached out to all different banks here in Wayne County, and they are all requiring us to have some type of number, ID number, and we don't have anything. So we cannot start a bank account until we have our number.
So you don't have a number from the state either?
No.
So did you register with the state before you started your 501c3?
I don't think we were registered, no.
Okay.
Like,
Well, usually that's your first step.
Secretary of State business entity.
Yeah. Yeah, to get to get it established as a business in the state. So you might.
I'm assuming our accountant that we hired to help us with it applied for all that. But she has not heard anything back about any type of number or anything like that. So.
But your
Wow.
your EIN takes like, I mean,
A day?
couple hours. No, yeah, like not
No,
even.
it should be fast.
Yeah, it happens. Like, I just started my own business in October 2019. I got my EIN the same day I applied for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, well,
yeah.
our accountant is saying that we do not have an EIN number yet. So I don't know. I can ask her, but I'll ask her,
Yeah, because you would
Dana,
get
or
that through- that you should get that through your state, because you even put that on your 501c3 when you send it in.
Right. Is your accountant a specialist in nonprofits? Because that's one of the things that can jam you up if they
Mhm.
aren't versed in nonprofits.
We're going to need,
she's. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Jess and Megan, could you all connect in the chat box? I am so sorry to cut this off, but we've got to give Corey a few minutes before we end the session. Okay. If that would be okay, maybe
Okay, thank you.
Kimbra and Jess connect with Megan from Wayne County. That would be so good. We really appreciate that. That's what this is all about. Someone posted this. Thank you so much, Megan, because I just got this email. It's in the chat box. The Drug-Free Communities, so the DFC support program, on February 5th from 2 to 3:30 Eastern is having the CDC, ONDCP and CDC is hosting an applicant training session. So this is more specifically, I think, for people who are applying for the first time, but it's also a good refresher. It says the NOFO will be released in the next few months. A full applicant training session will take place after the NOFO released. And there's the link for registering for it. So I'd highly recommend that if you're considering applying for the DFC or if you have to apply for year 6. The next thing, we want to turn it over to Corey real quick. Corey, are you on? If you're talking, we can't hear you. No, Corey? Well, here I am cutting everybody off. And okay, well, maybe he'll get on. So, okay. The next thing we want to do is to do the around the Zoom. So here's your opportunity to share with your other LCCs any announcements you'd like to share about your coalition and some upcoming webinars you might be having. We want to, before we do that real quickly, I want to remind everyone that all previous webinars for the ICN Indiana Coalition Network are recorded and posted on the ICN website. The link for this webinar will be emailed out to all of you. There's also a link on the homepage. So after logging in to www.indianacoalitionnetwork.org, click on the picture of the tree that looks like a heart. It will take you to the latest ICN webinar. And if you want to see any older webinars, you must have a membership and log in and then click on My Account, scroll down to the information exchange and search webinar. And that's how you'll find all the slides and all the things that I shared with you today that I want you to put in your hands. So any announcements? Go. Just unmute yourself and share.
This is Monica from Hamilton County. I just wanted to, if you're not aware, we started a show on Channel 40 called Connecting Hope, and Jody has been a guest on the show. I think I'll send it to you, Lori, if you want to post it on the website. Just we have it on YouTube if you want to watch one of the shows or episodes that we've done. But we do a education piece on resources that we have in the community for drug and alcohol treatment and prevention. And then we also have a recovery story on the show. So someone that someone shares their journey of recovery. So it's just, we felt like we needed to do more outreach of what we are doing with our LCC and what resources are available. And it's not just shown in Hamilton County, it's wherever you can get Channel 40 within Indiana. So if not, again, there's YouTube.
Thank you, Monica. I want to see if Corey, are you on yet?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
I don't see him.
Okay. Any other announcements?
We in Shelby County, we are hosting a Shelby County 3-part series. The first one will be on 3/2. From each one will be from 10 to 11 o'clock. The first one is on secondhand smoke in the casino and multi-housing in the county. Tracy Kennedy and Kadish Omar will be speaking on that one. In April, the 6th of April, it will be an update on e-cigarettes, flavoring, and the new tobacco laws. And Nick Torres will be the speaker. And then 5/4, it's all things prevention and recovery. And our guest speaker will be Victoria Harris. And then there will be various local addiction counselors that give like their elevator speech. But I can send this to you, the flyer.
Oh, that's perfect. I was going to ask for the flyer so we can publish it on our events calendar.
Yes. Yep, I will send it.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. And someone was asking about, they wanted to know if anybody had any tips or grant writers who could assist them with applying for the DFC grant. I want to encourage you to contact Prevention Insights, formerly the Indiana Prevention Resource Center. Hope McMickle is who put us through a training for that. And it was very helpful. And it was actually our 4th time to apply, and we finally got it. So any other announcements? Someone was asking, Monica, how did they search on YouTube for Hamilton County's presentation?
I just put the link in the chat, and that'll take you to the YouTube site, and it has all the episodes that we've done so far.
Perfect. Okay, great. Any other announcements? I know that Hancock County is doing a tall cop. I don't know if anybody's on here from Hancock County, Tim from Hancock County, but they are doing a tall cop. And I don't know if you've ever had him, but he is outstanding. Great training for your law enforcement. Tall cop says stop. You can just Google it. And I think he's doing a lot of virtual stuff now because of COVID. So it's probably a lot cheaper than it is to have him come to your community. That's quite costly.
It's not cheaper.
Oh, it's not?
No,
Really?
it is not.
Oh,
No.
man.
No, it is no, because I can truly attest to it. It is not
Oh,
cheaper.
bummer. I figured
So-
since he didn't have all that travel tied in, he'd be cheaper.
Nope, not at all.
He is very good though.
Yes.
I might comment with when Jermaine comes and he can come in person. He does a very good community scan
Yes.
So when he comes and brings it to you, you're not looking at, oh, this is happening somewhere else. This is truly what he's seeing in your community, which I know virtually he doesn't have quite those many options to do that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I know that we said the webinar would be over at 12:45. So here's what we've decided to do. Officially, this webinar is over, but we have set aside these last 15 minutes for networking, just like we're doing right now. So officially, we want to, first of all, tell you, please come back next month. The fourth Thursday of next month will be Mallory DeSalle from Prevention Insights talking about the strategic prevention framework. And then I hope you'll come back. But if anybody wants to stay on and continue sharing and talking and networking, we want to encourage you to do that. I also want to say that our web designer is actually on with us right now. So if anybody has any questions for Al, our web or with Solutionize, you can ask her right now about the Indiana Coalition Network and how to navigate it. So does anybody have any more things to share or any questions for Al?
Okay, there's no question.
Jody and Bobby, can you think of anything else that we need to share with our other LCCs? And did anybody have any questions about the presentation? About maybe some ideas that you do for your own membership orientation that were not shared today that you'd like to share with the rest of us? We're all just so talkative today. It sure has been wonderful seeing your faces. I just love, hey, Jenna, just saw Jenna from Du Bois. So it's great to see everybody. Hopefully one day we can meet again in person. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, concerns, or about your LCC, we're here for you. So great to see you all. And we're going to sign off from the Indiana Coalition Network. Everybody take care and stay safe.